Hello and welcome back to another episode of the MindSets podcast. I am, of course, joined for episode 61 by the great Charles Ingle.
The Great.
How are you doing?
I'm very happy that I was referred to as the Great. So yeah, I'm doing very well.
Well, there we are. We've made a turn from episode 60 onwards.
Yeah.
New names. So today we have some more interesting topics that have been presented by the lovely listeners through the social platforms. If you didn't know you could do that, because most podcasts aren't cool enough to do that, then always reach out to us at MindSets_podcast or on our personals at Angus_Cook or at Chucks_Life_.
You got it.
Nailed it.
You did.
So much studying. However, today, do you have a fun fact for me?
I don't, but I've got something better. Yeah,
Do
which is
tell.
actually really good.
Cool.
So for the last episode, we talked about fitness fashion. So I've brought you another present because I didn't think you were fashionable enough.
Which is ironic because today I'm wearing a
You are.
sport t-shirt.
Yeah, both are. We are.
On brand.
So this is not ROX. It's actually RAD again. Sorting you out.
Yeah, rad and you.
I brought you a RAD t-shirt.
Oh, thank you very much.
So shout out Ella from RAD.
Shall I open this up?
I don't know if the sound's going to be good for the podcast audio.
Well, do you know what's hilarious about that? And for those of you that are listening and didn't know, that's a problem for me.
Okay, perfect.
Because I'm going to have to go away and sit through what I'm choosing to do now and wonder why I decided to do that.
And you're doing it with one hand.
I'm doing it with one hand. Why not?
There you go.
Again, if you didn't know I was doing it with one hand, you should be watching it on YouTube.
And you can see the present.
I
I
just
just got
see
him.
the present, which I'm not even going to bother describing it. It's a rad t-shirt.
Yeah.
And it's actually sick.
I don't actually have that colorway.
Well, I'm just going to make you jealous now. That's actually really sick.
Yeah.
Thank you very, very much.
Great.
Thank you, Rad. Thank you, Ella. Hugely appreciated.
Yeah.
Well, we're not talking about fashion today.
We
because
are.
Quite clearly, we have upped our fashion game since the last episode. Today, we are talking about pro athletes switching sport.
It's a good topic.
It is because I only know athletes that have switched sport.
Only.
Yeah, I don't know an athlete that has only ever done one sport for their life.
Interesting take.
Yeah.
Interesting take. Yeah, that's quite fair.
So I don't really know which way you want to take this. Now, before we started this episode, Charles has teased me that he's got a really strange tack to take on this, which I'm quite excited for.
Yeah, I'm coming with lots of numbers.
I think when we presented this as a good topic to talk about, the first thing that jumped into both of our minds was the great Michael Jordan,
The GOAT.
who was arguably not so great at one thing that he decided that he wanted to be great at.
Yep.
So Michael Jordan, a lot of us know him for being the cover of some really good trainers, that silhouette of him dunking, but being generally pretty unbelievable when it comes to basketball.
The best.
Still there's the debate between LeBron and him, but
No. MJ.
I think we agree MJ is the best. However, for a time, he decided he didn't want to be the best anymore, and he decided to try and give baseball a go. And when I say he tried to give it a go, he was obviously better than most would be at baseball.
It's going to be interesting because I think there's like this misconception that he was actually horrible at it. But so this is like my take from it, and it's all come from a book that's actually it's called Why Michael Couldn't Hit. It's by a guy called Harren Kloran, so I've probably destroyed the pronunciation of his name, but it's a really interesting book, and it's about the neurology around actually being able to hit a baseball. So we've got lots of fun facts that we're going to talk about.
Okay.
But whilst we're talking about books, that kind of came out of a recommendation from another book I read called The Sports Gene by David Epstein, which is a very famous book. And if you haven't read that, I definitely recommend you reading that. That's talking about kind of, is it nurture versus have you got the genetic predisposition to be good at the sport? Because obviously Michael Jordan is an incredible athlete. Like you can't take that away from him. But his ability at baseball wasn't as good as his ability at basketball, right? And there's lots of things that kind of dictated that, or whatever the reason was. But what was kind of the most interesting thing for me is like why Michael Jordan decided, Christ, get that, I'm going to be fired now. The worst podcast host of all time.
That will just get cut because I bet the sound effect wouldn't have even picked that up once I've run it through.
Good. So yeah, it's more the fact that Michael Jordan decided to leave basketball all basically at the pinnacle of his career. When he was at his best, he just turned around and decided to leave basketball and pursue a career in baseball.
For those that have watched The Last Dance, well, first of all, if you haven't watched The Last Dance, what are we doing? After you finish this podcast, go and watch The Last Dance. But you find out that actually there was a lot going on behind the scenes in Michael's career, as there is with most athletes, but there was quite a lot of politics going on within the team, the coaching, the direction of the team, which essentially took the fun away from the sport. And while he was at his athletic prime quite clearly because he was dominating basketball, he wanted to give something else a go. And I do think, and this is something I've come to understand a lot more from my interest in American football, is when you play sport in America, you pretty quickly you have to choose which sport you want to do, because that's where you're going to go for college. You've got to get your scholarship, and it's very rare that there are multiple scholarships or multiple options at one time at a university. For generational athletes, they have done it. We've seen that. But the thing with baseball is you get drafted very early on. And essentially, if you get drafted, if you want to be a baseball player, that's great, because you can start earning money. You can start earning a lot of money in baseball very early on. But if you do actually want to do another sport, then that's kind of it. If you are going to do that baseball route, or you turn your back on the baseball draft and you go for it in the other sport, and if you don't make it, then you have to crawl your way back down to baseball to actually try and make any sort of career out of it. So Michael had always been good at baseball.
I think that's people didn't understand that. Like, he'd been playing since he was a kid, but he wasn't playing it at the same level, and he wasn't putting as much time or energy into baseball as he was basketball. And I think for him, everything that happened, like, you have to watch The Last Dance if you don't understand Michael Jordan at all or know much about him. But he had this strong relationship with his father. His father then died, but his father always loved baseball. So Michael then thought he owed it to his dad to try his hand at baseball. And he then obviously retired from basketball to pursue baseball. But there's a few numbers that I want to quote. Okay. Right. So because obviously, like, it's well documented that he wasn't as successful in baseball as he was basketball, but by no means was he bad at baseball.
Yeah. So I think one of the first things that everybody looks at when they look at what his career was in baseball is, some people will be aware, over in America, you've got the MLB, which is the Major League Baseball. Michael was not in Major League Baseball. He was in minor league baseball, which is in theory a level down. However, it is by no means a slouch league. That is the league that gets cherry picked from to start in the MLB. So yeah, go on and give your stats.
So the batting average, if I get this right, or the lowest batting average in baseball this season is 0.171. All right, numbers that.
What does that mean?
No idea.
Okay, cool.
I pulled that from the internet. All right, but that was like the lowest batting average. All right, you might be able to Google that now for us.
Batting average is determined by dividing a player's hits by his total at bats for a number between 0 and 1. So essentially, at bats is basically when you're stood there swinging. A number of hits doesn't necessarily mean home run. I don't believe it means actually making contact.
Michael Jordan's batting average is 0.202,
so above,
right? Yeah, which is still considered to be average. I think if you were in Major League Baseball, that's still an average batting average. So I've got more stats for you about some home runs, but this is basically just going to be me reading off what I've written down earlier. So if you are watching on YouTube, the one time that I will be reading off the script. All right, so here we go. It's basically talking about Michael Jordan's predisposition genetically, and like, it wasn't like he just waltzed into baseball and didn't try. Like, he put hours and hours and hours of time into practicing and batting. But Babe Ruth, who's obviously one of the most renowned baseball players of all time, for his entire career against Major League Baseball pitching, he got, his home run ratio, all right, to strikeout. So strikeout to home run ratio was under 2. Michael Jordan's was over 30. Jesus. So it's like, when you put that into perspective of like one of the best ever to do it in baseball versus Michael Jordan, there's obviously this huge disparity. Take Babe Ruth and put him in the NBA, you're going to have some crazy, ridiculous stats suggesting that he's horrible at basketball, but he's probably still this athletic guy who can hold his own on the basketball court. But versus Michael Jordan, who's the all-time best, obviously you're going to see that disparity.
Yeah, and before anyone thinks that this whole podcast is going to be about Michael Jordan, it's not, and that's kind of the point. But Michael Jordan is an excellent example because what he then did was quite smart.
Yeah.
And he went back to basketball and he dominated for like 5 more years. And it was pretty much like he never left, but he actually came back and was arguably better than when he did leave.
Because I think that's interesting, where it's like this debate about if you are just a genetic freak, you can be good at something, but it proves that it's not true. That even if you have this athletic predisposition, which I keep talking about, you're super athletic, that you can't deny that Michael Jordan was super athletic. Even if you just go, I'll switch sports, doesn't necessarily mean you're going to be any good at it. Otherwise, I think you'd see it more frequently in sportsmen and women jumping around sport to sport to have a play around at it just because you're going to be good at it.
Interestingly, what I have gone away and done for my interest was I've looked at success stories.
Love it.
I've also made note of one relatively well-known failure story, but I will discount why I think it's actually a failure, and it was almost a smart move. So Rebecca Romero.
Okay.
She was an Olympic rower.
Cool.
She's British. So Olympic rower, changed to Olympic cycling.
Oh, cool.
Went from silver in rowing to gold in cycling.
The upgrade.
Which is interesting because as we understand endurance sports now, both require ridiculous aerobic capacity and ability to stand a lot of pain.
Was it road cycling or track cycling?
Unfortunately, I didn't get that far.
Okay.
But I'm going to go ahead and say that both hurt.
Yeah, for sure.
So it's fine.
I'm going to guess track cycling.
I was
like
I was thinking that.
But it's very common for rowers to do cycling off season.
Yeah. So yeah, she actually technically improved as an athlete.
For sure.
Then
when you think of like leg endurance in rowing and cycling, like there's lots of overlap there.
This is my fault. I've also done the technology thing, and I have used technology to make my notes, and what it's done is auto-corrected someone's name. So Clara, and I'll put this in the description, Clara, it says highest, and it definitely isn't. Clara was a Canadian Olympian. She won 6 medals in total in her career as an Olympian. She went from speed skating to cycling to speed skating, and she's the first and only person to compete at both types of Olympics.
Oh, cool.
Successfully.
Oh, that's nice. Winning. So summer and winter.
So yeah, she won a medal in cycling, and she won most of her medals in speed skating.
That's so
cool.
Across
Across winter and summer. That, and arguably the best all-round athlete in American sports history, Bo Jackson.
Yeah.
Who did, and played in the NFL and the MLB at the same time, and was an all-star at both.
It's mental.
At the same time.
Yeah.
And would play one game one day and go and play the next game the next day and make both trainings. Just honestly, like, complete freak.
But it's like different era.
It is, and that's one of the things that you kind of have to
like. I don't know if that's possible to do now.
I don't think it is with the way that you train now.
No. Yeah, I'd agree.
And I don't think, as well as that, if we're being completely honest, teams wouldn't let you do that.
No.
Now, and as an example of this,
logistics wise as well,
and what I was saying before about baseball being drafted in the do you know Kyler Murray? Does the name ring a bell?
Yeah.
So Kyler Murray,
NFL quarterback.
Yeah, so he
Arizona Cardinals,
NFL quarterback.
Get that in the
extremely gifted football player. Always has been. If you look up Kyler Murray highlights on YouTube, it'll go back to him in high school, and he just is different. He runs differently. He's impossible to tackle. He's quite a small guy, so you wouldn't expect much from him in terms of his throwing ability. And then you watch him throw, and if you didn't see who was throwing the ball, you'd think this was coming from like some 7-foot guy with an absolute cannon of an arm.
But he's quite small.
He's very small for the NFL standard, but he was kind of got away with it at high school. Went to college, didn't grow, but he was also very, very good at baseball. And in fact, and I should probably double fact check this before I say it, but he was drafted first overall for baseball.
Really?
Yeah. Incredibly good. And when you're drafted first overall in baseball, we're talking hundreds of millions straight off. When you're drafted in the NFL, you get a lot of money, but it's not all guaranteed.
Sure.
And you do get a signing bonus that actually makes your contract worth it. But for your first 5 years, you're really underpaid compared to the rest of the league when you're at that level. He wanted to play in the NFL. And so he basically made the commitment before his final year. And he said, look, I'm going to go and win the Heisman and I'm going to go first overall. And that's actually what he did.
Wow. He went first pick.
Yeah. Unfortunately, what happened was then his career in the NFL was far less productive than his career in baseball possibly could have been. In that his ability in baseball was kind of guaranteed that he was at worst going to be mediocre and make a lot of money doing it. But in the NFL, it was still like, can he, as a short quarterback, convert to the NFL?
Do you think that's also the fact that in football, or American football, I should say, a lot is dictated around your actual team and like your offensive ability? And if he's put into a bad offense, there's only so much he can do, even if he's super talented.
And that,
whereas if he's in baseball, I don't know if he was a pitcher or a batter, but he's still got that individual like brilliance where he can make things happen by himself.
So the issue with team sports, and especially in such a tactical sport like American football, is you are literally a puzzle piece no matter how good you are.
Yeah.
I mean, he could throw the most perfect pass, but if the guy's not there to catch it or can't catch it, then what's the point?
Yeah.
And I think one of the other things that I actually really do like about American sport when they do this, or particularly the NFL, is the draft system. You know, the worst team gets the first pick the next year.
Yeah.
But what that does mean is
You're
going to the worst team.
Yeah.
Unless there's been some sort of trade. So like
it's been tough to watch like over the last couple of years where I've got into American football a bit more and seeing some of these top quarterbacks being drafted from college, like Trevor Lawrence and Justin Fields, and they just get, and Zach Wilson as well, they just get put into a terrible team and they just get lost in the system, really. And it's not a fair representation of literally the whole of the rest of their lives playing football, where you can follow these guys back to when they were playing in high school, which is mental, and they've got facts and analytics about all of them. No wonder you love American sports, because it's literally just a numbers game.
And the thing today as well, and this makes me feel really old, but like there is footage of these guys playing from when they first started playing now.
Yeah.
Whereas like 10 years ago, you would have to rely on the first video of someone you had, which was college.
Yeah.
Because previously the scouts would go and watch them at their high school games and they didn't necessarily have the film in the same way. They had film. I'm not saying like it didn't exist. Video cameras have existed for a while, but not quite to the same accessibility. So that is really cool. One of the things on the NFL, which was actually a listener input, messaged me on this topic to talk about Luis Rees-Zammit.
Yeah.
So again, context for those that don't necessarily know. Incredible athlete, Welsh rugby player, has won the Six Nations for Wales.
You might want to fact check that. Has he
Won the Six Nations
really?
for Wales, played in the Lions, is
what
currently
year did he
age
win
24.
The Six Nations last?
I think, I don't know, but I know that.
Really?
I do know that.
Big up Wales, the glory days.
Yeah, so incredible athlete. And maybe some people have seen on social media, or if not on YouTube, the International Player Pathway. Explaining it as quickly as I can. If you actually want to know more about this, major plug, go back to the very first episode of the MindSets podcast, because I speak to Adedayo Odele, who is a defensive lineman I used to play with.
Great guest.
And he is still on a roster. He went through the International Player Pathway. But essentially what happens is players that don't necessarily come from playing American football, in fact, nearly all of them don't, get put into this program because they are raw athletes, and scouts that are in the UK or in Europe or across the world have seen potential for them to play in the NFL. And what they do is they take them away, they put them through an intensive training camp with the understanding that at the end of that training camp, teams, they can be assigned to a team if they're good enough. Now, it's not that the team looks at them and goes, they're better than anyone we could have in America. What happens is the NFL increases the practice squad size for the team for 3 years just to have a European player. So, and I know this gets confusing with NFL teams seemingly have so many people on their team, but essentially NFL teams have 53 people on their squad list at any time that can play in a game. They also have a practice squad. This team of people, which I believe is 7 people, can train with the squad but don't go to games and can't be called up unless they're made active and someone from the active team is on injured reserve or gets traded. So when a team gets an International Player Pathway player that has been selected, they are assigned them. They don't necessarily get to choose them.
Okay.
And the practice squad gets
Is
increased.
that by the NFL?
Yeah.
Okay.
And that practice squad gets increased by one position. So they go from 7 to 8. So it doesn't have an impact on anyone else in the team that's already there. It's just an increase in size.
Sure.
But like I said, they only get it for 3 years. So essentially, if you are one of these players and you are chosen to go through and get put on a team, you have a guaranteed 3 years. Now, that isn't strictly true if you're made active. So if after your first year, you dazzle them, you're impressive, you get made active, then after that, you can't be put back onto the practice squad as an international. You've been an active player. You're no longer in the international pathway.
Oh, cool.
What also happens, which is interesting, is after 2 years, let's say you impress another team enough, because practice squad players can play in the preseason games. So they do. That's their chance to show that they're worth it. They might get traded for by another team. And that's where it gets sticky, because they can be on their practice squad, but they aren't an international player position. So they are taking up the space of someone else.
Fine.
So this is why sometimes international players get chewed up and spat out, because
Very
that happens.
quickly, yeah.
But for a team that takes on their player, it's worth them investing everything in this person, because it's only a win-win. It's a win that they get a great player at the end of it, or they actually get some monetary value back because they can trade for them from another team, or they just split them out and it's fine, doesn't cost them anything. That is the international player pathway explained as quickly as I could. Sorry if that was too much for you. Luis Rees-Zammit entered this pathway. He was then assigned
The Chiefs,
to the Chiefs, which at the time
huge.
were the Super Bowl champions.
Yeah.
It's like he's just been given the gift. And
Do you think that was done tactically for like social or what?
Possibly,
like
because when
marketing
it
or
becomes
social media?
when it comes to the assigning, putting a guy who is one
He's
of the
like
best
high profile.
for the pathway,
Yeah.
and being put with the best quarterback
Yeah.
potentially of all time by the
Yeah.
time he finishes his career, but definitely at the time, Patrick Mahomes, like he's going to go and play wide receiver as well. So like you are literally linking him with the best possible chance of this success story out of this thing, which can run the media. And immediately I hated the whole situation.
Shock.
Yeah, and this isn't coming from just...
He's a tough guy to like as well, isn't he?
It's not even that. I'll be completely honest. He was on my radar of like good players, but I didn't know anything about him. But every 3 years, someone from rugby or another sport gets coverage for going to the NFL, and they're going to absolutely dominate the NFL, or they're at least going to be like in the top. And having played the sport, and knowing enough, there is zero chance of that happening.
Yeah.
And I say that from a deep understanding of how these players train from how young they start playing.
Yeah.
And it isn't because they've got more experience necessarily. It isn't because they know the rules of the game and it's second nature. It is a physical difference and a reactive difference that you can't learn quickly.
Yeah.
And this sounds really weird and this is really niche. I would say, walking through a busy street in London, I am better than I would have been, and most people, at not getting caught up by other people.
Yeah.
Because I understand how to read what's going in front of me based on having players block for me and having people try to tackle me, which is really random. But I do think that I'm like, I probably wouldn't have done. I wouldn't have followed
like an
that
anticipation
big
thing,
person.
isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah. And that's genuinely something that until you play the game and you have enough experience playing, you can't learn. And when these guys get sent over and they do these intense training camps, for Luis Rees-Zammit, for example, he's going to be learning how to run wide receiver routes. He's going to be learning how a playbook works. He's going to be doing the footwork. But then you put him in a game, and there are guys that have seen everyone at his level before in terms of his route running, his catching ability.
Yeah.
But they also know that he's got to get the ball, and then once he's got the ball, he's got to not get tackled. And in rugby, it's very different. You expect to be tackled and you do what you do with the ball. In American football, the difference makers are the ones that aren't covered at wide receiver, so they can get the ball easily and they can get past people and score touchdowns.
I think also having played rugby and then, consumed enough American football to understand it a little bit. But if he's running a route and the ball's coming to him, he's looking at the ball. He's not looking at the two guys who are going to come and smash him at the same time. And I think there's that misconception, especially from British people who play rugby, that American football is soft. But at the top level in the NFL, you're getting absolutely trolleyed.
I will reframe it as well. So having,
And he's a soft rugby player as it goes.
I'll let that be on you. I will say
The listeners
again,
will agree.
from my standing of playing, when I first started playing, I was like, wow, you have all this padding. In reality, you wear as little as possible. You wear it so you surpass the rules of the referee. But I'm telling you right now, my current watch strap is thicker than the plastic I was wearing on my shoulders and my upper body. My helmet was the only thing that was really heavy, and it is heavy. But I'll come back to that.
But you can, unlike rugby, like if you're wearing a helmet, you can use that to hit someone with. Like you can run at someone with your head into like their knees, and like your ACL instantly blown.
Yeah, and you wear knee pads, but quite a lot of the time you don't. And I will attest, most of the time I was playing, I put socks there because
So
it
it
didn't
looks
restrict
like-
me from running, but it looks like a pad.
Yeah.
That's the sort of level we're talking at, where the pads are as small as possible without you getting told off. But on the helmet thing, they have a metal face gauge. It was trained in teams that I played with and against that the metal face gauge belongs on my throwing hand as a
Literally.
quarterback.
Yeah.
Because it breaks my fingers, and I've broken fingers, I've dislocated fingers.
Yeah.
And it's a tool, and it's something you don't have in rugby. So as much as American football is considered soft for the padding, it ends up going the other way. And the more padding you have, the more invincible you become, the more you can use as a weapon.
There's some huge hits, like ridiculous hits.
So there is that. And being hit in rugby, if you're being chased, you're going to get tackled or dragged down. If they're in front of you, you're getting hit probably thigh high or high, but you know where it's coming from. American football, you have no idea where it's coming from or when. And the final thing, as an example of nuances which people don't understand for a position like wide receiver, if Rees-Zammit can get free, he can get wide open, Patrick Mahomes has thrown the perfect ball, and we know he can catch. He's running along, he puts his hands out to catch the ball, he does not catch that ball. And that isn't a reason of the fact that he can't catch, something goes wrong from his side. If you put your hands out too early in the NFL to catch a ball, it's getting intercepted or batted away, because the defenders at that level key on your movements. So they'll be running behind you, not watching where the ball is, because they don't care. All they care for is when your hands go out, my hands go out.
Yeah.
And so if you go too early, and this is something that he's not going to learn until he's getting the reps in the game. And so there's so many things. And when I'm rude and I say, look, no rugby player or nobody that hasn't played the sport is going to go over there and be at the level to even be on a roster in 2 to 3 years in those, what they're called skill positions. I'm not being rude. I'm being realistic.
I was going to say, like, jump in there and you take that back to Michael Jordan that we've been speaking about. Those things, like hitting the ball with a baseball bat, it's like visual motor skill, something that you can learn. Same as putting your hands out at the right time. Like, you do learn it, but it's much easier to learn that skill when you're tiny, like learning a language, when your brain is a lot more malleable, than trying to learn it when you're slightly older and all he's got in his brain is rugby, 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 rugby. Same as Michael Jordan, basketball, basketball, basketball. So then unlearn different things to apply in a different situation. Just you can do it. Like, again, Rees-Zammit, amazing athlete in all different types of like speed, strength, power, all of those things. Like, I can't take that away from him, but not in the context of NFL.
And he couldn't do it quick enough to make it understandable for him to do that as a career choice. He could, by the time he's 30, maybe he's good enough to make a team. But by the time he's 30, he's not been given the chance anymore. He's been kicked off the teams.
And what's that? That's only like X amount of years. I don't know how old he is, but let's say he's 25, 26. That's 4 or 5 years of learning versus the guys who are already drafted in the NFL who have already got 15, 16, 17 years of that visual motor skill learning.
The reason, if you look at the history of the international player pathway, the more successful athletes and what you actually see more commonly in there are defensive linemen, is because defensive line isn't necessarily more simple, but it does come down to a level of force and a few techniques that you learn, and your job is arguably you have less skill involved. So when you pick up the understanding of the sport and the way to do it, you are more likely to be successful if you are a freak athlete in that position.
Because I was like, once you have that baseline understanding knowledge, a lot of it is mass moves mass. So if you're big and powerful and strong, or you're big, powerful and stronger than the other people, then you're more likely to get given an opportunity.
Exactly. And in the example of Dio, who we spoke about, who is a guest in the first episode, he was discovered by me and one other person who saw him in the gym at Loughborough University in his first year, just looking like a freak. And he didn't play sport at the time.
Just lifted.
Yeah. We invited him down for a trial, and he started his first game not knowing what he was doing.
Yeah.
But he had like 6 sacks, which is when you tackle the quarterback, which is a lot for a game.
Yeah.
And very quickly, he obviously was like, I'm kind of good at this. I kind of like this sport. Literally 2 years later, he's playing professionally in Europe.
Wow.
And then the following season, he gets his chance in the NFL, and he's still out there. So first of all, well done, Di.
Who's definitely listening.
Do you know what? He actually does tune in. So he might send some stuff, and I'm not going to talk about him ever.
Well, I'm going to go in then with another niche example of someone who's been successful at jumping around sports. And this has come from the book, Why Michael Can't Hit. A guy called Jim Thorpe, who was an American heptathlete and pentathlete. Or no, he's not a heptathlete. He's a decathlete for sure, and a pentathlete. And he won gold at the 1912 Olympics. The first person to ever win gold at those 2 events, ever. Previously and until now, no one's ever done that. He actually switched to play baseball, had a similar time as Michael Jordan, which is why he was used as an example. He wasn't particularly successful at it. He had a better batting average of 0.252, I think, something like that, which again is just like bang on average in the Major League Baseball. So then was like, well, I'm done with this. I'm going to go and play professional football. So he's bounced around all of these sports, but again, it's like a different era, like 1912. I don't think you'd be able to do something like that now, where everyone is at such an elite level and the training is so advanced. But it's cool to see that someone's just gone from having a background in something like decathlon, which I'd say is probably the most rounded athlete you can be. When I look at the best athletes at the Olympics, someone like a heptathlete or a decathlete, they're the people who are the most athletic, and I look at it and go, yeah, that's cool.
Yeah.
But you can take that athleticism and apply it in so many different areas.
One area that I feel like probably does actually get recognized but isn't noticed that often is in parasport.
Yeah.
There's quite a lot of movement around sports but from those athletes. And again, I don't know if that's necessarily because of the level of involvement across the board. I do feel like it is more restricted because there are generally less people that have some form of disability than there are able-bodied people. But if we take the example again, shameful plug here, I believe actually the next episode or the 3rd episode, Sam Ruddock, who was previously very successful in Paralympic throwing, so doing things like hammer.
Yeah.
Sorry, not hammer, shot put.
Yeah.
And then switched to cycling, indoor cycling, and became world champion.
Yeah.
Defending world champion. So there is great success in it. Interestingly though, what I would say is, for the most part, and this again would be my advice for anyone that thinks that they're athletic enough to go to the NFL and dominate, is
you're still stuck on that.
Dabble. I think dabbling as an athlete and doing other sports is not only good for you mentally, but is good for you physically, because you can learn areas that you're weaker. But also, I would probably not recommend doing a full-on career switch unless you are so sure you're going to be better at this other thing than what you can.
I think it's so interesting, and I know the topic that we're going to talk about later on, we're definitely going to have some layover and talk about kind of variety in different training and sports.
If you ask me, incredible planning.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's very good planning, but surely we have to do grind my gears before that.
Well, let's do that then. So this week I've got some hangover grind my gears. Okay. In fact, a couple of people messaged in 2 episodes ago.
Oh, wow.
And I told them that it would be in episode 60, and it didn't appear in episode 60 because we had quite a lot of gym icks.
We did.
However, they're definitely going to get their mention. They aren't necessarily sports related, but I thought they were brilliant. They did make me chuckle.
You go for it. Let's talk about
it. Non-spreadable, spreadable butter.
Yeah, that's tough.
Annoying. However, it generally does mean you just left it in the fridge too long. But if it's winter, that pisses me off.
I don't know. But you've bought non-spreadable butter, or have you bought something that said spreadable and it's still not spreadable?
Yeah, that's it. So you've bought spreadable butter and it doesn't spread.
These people aren't buying Lurpak though, for sure, because I've never had a problem with Lurpak.
I don't know. I think I might have done, but again, it was kind of winter. But like,
nah,
yeah,
no one's ever had a problem with Lurpak.
I
have a grind my gears.
Okay,
people who don't buy Lurpak.
Dan Pack.
A little alternative.
Yeah, boy. Bakeries whose displays are open for people to sneeze over.
Oh yeah,
So true.
These are all food related.
No, they're not.
I don't even think about that though when I go to the bakery. I just pick it up, and now you've ruined it for me. Whoever that was has ruined it for me.
I used to go to a bakery which is very well known in Loughborough near the university called Bon Bon Bakery. If you're ever lucky enough to be in Leicester and you have the chance to go to Bon Bon, it is the best cookie in the world. And I know that for a fact because an Australian Olympian tries cookies as she goes around different countries to compete, and it is her best one.
Oh wow.
So they have their display, and you choose from the display,
but there's
get
separate. Oh, nice.
Yeah. I don't know what happens to those ones at the end of the day because I'm definitely covered in
sneeze.
As a uni student, I'd have queued for that. And another one that I've got is people posting walks on Strava.
Oh no, really?
Yeah.
Was that you or someone?
No.
Someone sent that in.
Someone has sent that in.
What did? Hang on. This is walk versus hike. Are they both the same category, or do you think hiking is different?
So they also said WODs.
Yeah, I know a lot of, especially like purist runners, hate it when you're putting your workouts on. It does ruin the activity feed as well when they.
So what I will say, and I doubt anyone's following my Strava. I've never put the link up to follow me. I'm on there, but all you will find
now you'll be inundated.
All you'll find is lunchtime workout, evening workout.
See, this is the worst. That's the worst. When you don't you've got to comment, you've got to put a meme. You need to put photos.
As soon as I finish on my watch,
it automatically, yeah.
I go on every once in a while because someone will give me kudos. Thank you very much, by the way. But someone will give me kudos, and I'll go on.
It's not me. I don't think I follow you.
It'll give me 5. It'll be like 5 things. I'll be like, save changes, because I've not been on it enough times, and there's so many things that are there. Not the fact that I do so much working out, but like,
I can understand why that frustrates some people.
Yeah,
I'm just like now rewinding in my head that I've outed the fact that I only eat Lurpak. It's like £4 for a pack of butter.
I was gonna say,
yeah, it's tough. Maybe we edit that out.
We definitely leave that in.
It says a lot about me, doesn't it?
Shopping in Waitrose. Oh,
never.
And you know what this ties me into? I'm so glad I forgot about this grind my gears, but this absolutely needs to be spoken about.
Uh-oh. I love it when you take the pause. I know it's going to be good when you take the pause.
This is unbelievable. I had the pleasure of being invited to a wedding last week, and it was unbelievable. Really good. Wow, this is really the plug bit. Harry, who was a previous guest, who was the guy called in the Rocket Man episodes. Genuinely crazy story. It's a 2-parter about a guy who is away in the army and just gets absolutely shelled to hell. And he's a medic, so he has to deal with that. And he's basically the only person that can deal with it on his own. Anyway, he was getting married to my school friend, Lucy. And we were at their wedding, and sure, they were a lovely person, didn't know them personally. However, dessert came around.
Uh-oh.
I'm a big fan. I've got a sweet tooth, big fan of dessert. The options were an Eton mess in a cup and a cheesecake.
Nice.
Of course, I took both.
Is that an option? Are you allowed to do that?
I did. If I wasn't allowed, I'm sorry. Incriminating evidence here. As I was carrying the plate back to the table, I heard one of the most outrageous sentences I've ever heard.
No.
I wasn't even aware at the time until it registered what they could be talking about. I will do my best impersonation. Oh, is that a gâteau de fromage?
Stop.
For those that don't speak fluent French, that very roughly translates as cheesecake. And I have never in my life heard anyone call a cheesecake a gâteau de fromage. I don't even think the French call it a gâteau.
I don't think that. No, surely that's not a thing for us.
Gâteau de fromage.
I'm going to start calling it that. I love that.
Have you seen that there's a Facebook page on Facebook, funny enough, called Things Overheard in Waitrose?
Oh, no.
It's incredible.
Yeah, I bet it is.
That belongs there.
Yeah.
Where's the gâteau de fromage?
That's tough.
Yeah.
Yeah. That brings me on to another grind my gears, which is quite topical as well, because it happened at a wedding as well. Not the same wedding. We didn't get invited to the same wedding. We don't do everything together. So I was going for some cake. All right, wedding cake was cut. I was going for the cake. Yeah, the old gâteau. It wasn't gâteau de fromage. It was also lovely cake. And it was a CrossFit wedding because the bride and the groom were both CrossFitters, and there were lots of CrossFitters there, and we were the CrossFit group. Everyone knew that we were the CrossFit group. And I said it. I was like, I'm going to go and get some cake. Does anyone want to come? Someone said, ooh, CrossFitters shouldn't be eating cake. And do you know what? And this happens more frequently than I care for. When I say I'm going to eat X, whatever, something that's maybe considered unhealthy, and someone will say, ooh, you shouldn't eat that because you're into fitness. Typically coming from someone who's not into fitness. I'm like, for one, that's just super toxic. I don't need that in my life. But for two, I can eat whatever I want just anyway, because I can eat whatever I want. But three, I can also eat whatever I want because I train so much that it doesn't matter. And man, it riled me up, and I was like, someone had to hold me back. I was like, I don't want to ruin this wedding for everyone. But come on, that's so toxic. That's what grandma get.
I didn't spend an hour staring at the PM5, count my calories, to not enjoy the hell out of this pizza.
Exactly. But it's like, oh, you shouldn't be eating pizza. Eat whatever you want.
To a level with some of the training that I have done, but also train with people alongside. If they didn't eat things like pizza, they would lose weight
away. Yeah,
genuinely. Like sometimes you need something that's full of calories.
For sure.
And if that is something that you don't currently do and sounds great, Rock Sport will sort you out. Trust me.
And I don't want to give unsolicited nutritional advice, but sometimes processed foods for performance are necessary.
No, this has been proven, because you would look at
not unsolicited. Then
there was a study done into fueling throughout endurance events using natural products, things like bananas, that sort of thing, versus using standard products. The standard industry products now, like gels and that sort of thing, they digest faster, which means they fuel you more quickly, which means then you can ingest more of them. And actually, throughout certain specific sessions, especially if doing things like VO2 max, your body will not be able to maintain the level of performance, and the after effects of damage from chemicals or something is unproven.
Yeah.
To the point where you should be using the artificials, because otherwise you're actually possibly going to get injured, which is actually damaging.
Yeah. I'm sure there's like a case for both and balancing both, but yeah, for sure that
don't be getting up in the morning and having a gel. Have some breakfast. Don't be a savage.
Yeah. And balance is fine too. Have McDonald's breakfast.
You can have, or Tim Hortons, which is actually better than McDonald's. Anyway, let's move on to the next topic. Off-season training.
Let's do it.
For those that aren't aware, we quite frequently talk about Hyrox in this podcast.
Never.
I know. And World Champs has just happened.
It has, yeah.
Which means that it is technically a Hyrox off-season. Depends where you are in the world.
Yeah.
But for those of us that I know, I don't know anyone that's racing it for like at least 3 months now. A lot of people.
I was going to say in lots of other sports, this is their off season as well.
This is true. I mean, this is obviously the on season for other sports, but off seasons are things that always come around.
Yeah,
it's actually happening less and less often these days because
they're getting shorter and shorter.
They're getting shorter and shorter. We're trying to cram more games into seasons.
Yeah,
media, especially at the elite level, is trying to make seasons go all year round because it's great for them. And as a viewer, I don't mind that, but I appreciate it's not great for the athletes. However, what do you do with your off season?
Good question.
And this is quite a good topic because I'm doing something and I'm wondering if I'm regretting it straight away. I think it's pretty common that at the end of a season, people are pretty burnt out by their sport. And I know off the back of Cardiff, I was pretty tired.
Yeah.
And so I originally thought, well, I don't really want to lose the progress of where I've got to. So I don't really want to stop training, but maybe I'll take it easy for the first 2 weeks and ease back in. What's actually happened is I did that and then I thought there's no way I'm getting back to doing race simulations and all of that. Like it's just not happening.
Yeah.
Partly because I'm enjoying how much less pain my body's in, but also just I'm so far out from competing that me being in race mode right now, I'll just be tired of it by the time I get back to it. But this is me just chatting about me. You actually have to program people.
Sure.
So from your own experience as well, but also when you're programming other people.
Yeah. It's interesting. And there's like a few things that you just said there anyway that I want to talk about, which is the misconception that doing nothing is going to damage your progress. And often, especially yourself who trains so much, and a lot of the other people that we come into contact frequently with in our training train so much that resting and recovering is almost chastised. And it's like, having some time off is good, and your body definitely needs it. And if you're burnt out, it definitely needs it. I think something that you might want to evaluate and analyze, and it's something that I do with all my clients, if you're getting to the end of the season and you are burnt out, or maybe during season you get burnt out, what are the factors that are causing that? And typically number one is we're not resting enough, or there's little or no variety in the training. So it's something that's super interesting and very topical at the moment for us both in our training. And I'm doing something similar where off the back of my season, I just wanted to do nothing. And like, that's completely fine. And I promote intuitive training at the kind of the beginning of the off season. And I've programmed that for all of my clients who've come out of world champs. And it's like, if you feel like training, go and train. Doesn't matter what it is. So for some of my clients who kind of do a little bit of CrossFit and maybe a little bit of high rocks, where we've been focusing on high rocks specifically in the build up to world champs because it needs to be specific at that point in the season, they've missed out on all of the CrossFit that they've wanted to be doing. So now if there's a CrossFit class that they like the look of that all their mates are going to, go and do it. Like, have fun with it, train with it. If you want to go running, go running. If you don't want to go running, don't go running. So everything becomes a little bit broader and a little bit more chilled until we start thinking about kind of scheduling around the new season, 25-26 season. So if they have races already booked in the calendar, lots of people booked in for London, or there's kind of Madrid, Oslo, Rome at the beginning of what our season probably looks like, then it's working back from that. But I want to tie that into the original topic we were kind of talking about there, is like different athletes trying, and you use the word dabbling, trying different sports during the off season. And it is actually more frequent than you'd think. Lots of, and I'm using CrossFit as an example because that's my background, lots of CrossFit athletes, because of their training and their genetic predisposition, they're pretty powerful people. They're pretty fast, have good explosive power. There's actually some famous CrossFitters, James Newbury and Claire Toomey, have both now switched into more high rock style training. But before they did that in the off season, what they'd do, they'd go and train with the Australian bobsleigh team. And I think they were on the brink of going to the Winter Olympics with the Australian bobsleigh team, because all they needed to do, push the sled or the bobsleigh, whatever you call it, as hard as you can down the runway, and then just hop in and sit in. You don't need any other skill apart from that. So they did that training, and obviously it's like so far removed from what they're doing in CrossFit, but there's these kind of translatable or overlay skills that you'd see both from CrossFit and in the sport of bobsleigh, which is really cool.
I think for me, I haven't actually come out of the back end of the season and gone, I want to do a different sport. It's not been that. I enjoy the training methodology. I enjoy being in the gym, but weirdly, I've got an interest in something which I used to do and I used to not be that bothered by, which is, I'm not bodybuilding by any means of the word, but I would describe the back end of the season with the number of races I did quite literally as cramming. And it was like cramming for an exam.
So again, that's probably why you experience this burnout now.
Yeah.
It's just too much.
And between,
too short a time.
I'd say between January, which is when I raced in Manchester, and then when I raced in Barcelona, which was the back end of April, I actually had a really good relationship with my training, and that I'd have my tough days, but then I would train intuitively, and I would then have more of a recovery day, but it would still be quite active and get the benefit of doing the zone 2 stuff we've spoken about.
But then you went from Barcelona to London to then,
which was literally Cardiff. The following week, and then Cardiff was less than a month after London.
I call it, you're like kind of stuck in taper purgatory, and like you can't get any consistency with your training block, because I need to taper for this race, and then once that's done, I'm going to recover from that race. Oh shit, now I have to taper. So it's just like, no wonder your performance was just like probably not where you expected it to be, and why mentally you're like, oh, I'm over this shit.
And in the end, it wasn't even, I think I gave up with the idea of tapering, because it was like, I have recognized the weaknesses from the first race. And then the second race that I did was the London one, which was a double. So I was like, I can kind of get away with my weaknesses here. I just need to fix myself up in a week's time. So just sort of did very little. I was also ill, which didn't help. Did very little, but did the bare minimum. And then off the back of the doubles, I was like, cool, I've got another solo again in Cardiff. I've got 4 weeks to fix everything that went wrong in Barcelona. By the time I got to Cardiff and actually racing, I was knackered. And all I had been doing was spamming what I thought was the problem. And in reality, it wasn't necessarily that wasn't the problem, but I hadn't recovered from either of the first 2 races by the time I came into Cardiff. And so what I have come out of is I've looked at what went wrong, and I'm aware of what, in theory, are my in-race weaknesses. But I'm ignoring that. Not completely, but I'm being what I think is more sensible. The overall resounding issue is I got way worse at one thing throughout the season, and I got way better at one thing throughout the season. I got way better at running throughout the season. So I got a lot faster. My runs, well, obviously I'm an athlete, so still not where I want them to be, and I still want them to get faster. The one thing I didn't do was try and balance and at least maintain my strength.
Sure.
So what ended up happening
so hard
was I spent hours and hours on the bike, on the rowing machine, on the ski erg, on the treadmill, doing my runs, getting aerobically fitter, getting faster. But what I wasn't doing was then able to keep up with my strength training. And in all honesty, in hindsight, quite surprised I didn't get injured again in those, but it would have to be in the races. And that was partly me being overly cautious in my training sessions to not do too much running so I don't get injured. But it literally got to the point, and I'm going to expose myself here, I think I was probably as strong on bench press, if not slightly stronger on bench press than squats, which I'm a tall athlete, but like that shouldn't really be the case.
That's tough.
For someone that comes from a background where I have a video on my phone of me squatting nearly twice my body weight and my bench being 20 kilos stronger than it is now, but nowhere near my squat. And so I'm very much at this point now where I'm like, the overall issue was actually my muscular endurance wasn't there. But even if the endurance was there, the strength wasn't there to be fast in the first place.
Interesting,
And so what I have started to do is I've broken down what these exercises are, and I'm looking at the compound lifts that are really going to benefit all of them. And I'm also looking at things that I have spoken about on the podcast before, like my anterior pelvic tilt. It's time to stop ignoring them.
God, if you talked about that on the podcast before.
Was
I present to that?
I don't know.
Hard blank that bit out.
But basically, I've started looking at fundamentally where there are, it's almost like the issues in the foundations. And so I'm rebuilding the foundations in this off season, which isn't in theory as fun as racing.
Oh, it's not fun at all.
It's actually really annoying because I'm far more fatigued from these sessions than I thought I was going to be. And it comes to the point where today, for example, on a recording day, I've clearly not trained. And in my head, I'm like, I could go out for a run later, but part of me is just like, I'm supposed to be doing intervals tomorrow. What's the point of me running tonight? I'm supposed to have done a leg day today. I might just do that with my intervals tomorrow, which probably isn't smart, but I'm going off on holiday in 2 weeks for nearly 2 weeks. So I'll recover over that time. But it's just like, I'm taking a very laid back approach because I just need to be doing the right thing for the foundations so that in a month's time, I can actually be like, cool, we're back into the sort of training that I was doing between January and April, which were having a really positive slow effect before it became cramming.
I think it's like when you look at it from a basic idea of programming for whatever sport you do, and I talk about this all the time, whether it's on social media or in the podcast. Actually, we've spoken about it before, but it's, you go from really broad at the beginning of your off season to really narrow and specific, and it's like this scale of specificity, which I think I nailed first time there. And we also talk about like a continuum where you have skill on one side and then threshold on the other. And that kind of feeds into this broadness into more specific as well, where you're just looking at the skill stuff. And I know that's a weird word to maybe phrase it as, but that skill stuff for now isn't intense at all. Obviously, you get that intensity through the lifting, but you're probably focusing more on strength when you look at Hyrox as the sport. Those are kind of your skills where you want to develop the strength for things like the sled push and the sled pull. You also do want to develop a little bit of muscular endurance for things like wall balls and lunges, but that's going to come further on in the season. Because if you were to like really basic it down, when you look at what's harder to develop or what takes longer to develop, strength always takes longer to develop than your aerobic fitness. So yes, your aerobic fitness needs some work and it needs some dedication, but you can get that relatively faster than your strength stuff. And it might be a little bit more painful when you get to developing that fitness, but you have residual aerobic capacity already. You've already told me that in the last season, your running's gone through the roof and you've done a load of aerobic work. So now you need to focus on your strength. There's going to be a time though where you do have to start balancing out both of them together. But because you're laying, I love that word, the foundations, and I talk about periodization or programming. When you periodize the first part of your programming, and this is what the off season probably looks like for most people at the moment, whether you call it this or not, is accumulation. And accumulation is just building the foundation. And if you build a really broad, really strong foundation at the start, then you're going to be able to build on top of that. And the broader the foundation, and that's why I like to talk about this broadness, the broader the foundation, the wider the top is. So when you think of a building, if you want a really big building, you've got to have big foundation. Otherwise you can't build big at the top, right? And it's the same thing when you do your fitness programming or your training programming.
And it's the same, it's looked at the same way for your aerobic training, is you need to have a wide base to be able to do real.
And what's the wide base? It's
easy stuff.
Low aerobic, right? Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's super interesting.
But there's something that I want to key on here, because especially with social media and the people that you're going to be following or getting these messages from about the way you train, there's become a bit of an understanding from the elites that you should be able to train the same the whole year round as a hybrid athlete for something like Hyrox. They are not lying, but they are not you. And I would say, unless you're at that level where really, I mean, if we're dancing around the world record, same with every other world record we've spoken about on the podcast recently, you are talking about physical limitations on certain things, not necessarily for the species, but for you. If you are up at that level, yes, maybe in 5 years' time, you find something with your training that would have changed the game now. But if you are up at that level where you're not going to be able to make a huge change by doing something like foundation building in the off season, then yeah, you probably should be training the same way the whole way around, trying to fix those weaknesses all the time, but do it in a way where you're managing your recovery to be able to continue doing it. It would be nonsensical for someone who is number 3 in the world right now to say, I'm taking a month off my aerobic training fitness just so I can do some strength work, so hopefully I can get a bit stronger and come back and do all my aerobic fitness again, because those guys have got their first competition in 2 months in the elites. So I would say that they're not necessarily lying, but I don't think that's necessarily applicable if you are someone that isn't in the top 1 or top 0.1% of Hyrox, because the 1% of Hyrox is a thing in itself. But for someone like me, I know that I'm not there. And if I pretended to be there, I would probably get injured. I would probably come back next season and not be much faster. And then I would then do the same thing throughout the season of chasing, getting faster by 30 seconds a race. Whereas right now, I'm turning around, and if someone offered me up a ticket last minute in September, I could be 2-3 minutes slower than my Cardiff time. But I would hope that I come out of the race and I don't feel anywhere near as like physically drained. I've used everything my muscles had in terms of strength to get me across the line.
I think it's always like relative or contextual at where you are in the season, because obviously if you're talking about that elite person who's maybe coming third in their race and they've got to tweak some things to help them win the race, if they're racing again in 2 months, then maybe this isn't the right time for them to be building. But they must have done some base building at some point in the season or in their last off season as well. Like, you can't underestimate the value of that's going to add. And also, these people who are racing at the top of the sport, everything in their life is dialed in and revolved around that. Like, I can't imagine anyone at the top really has a job other than being as fast as they can at that sport. They've got their nutrition there for them. They've literally got everything laid out for them. They sleep the right amount. They don't go to bed at midnight every night. They don't scroll on TikTok all night. You know, they've got everything dialed in, and it's not necessarily a life that everyone wants to live, but you have to have that sacrifice, and you have to have the ability to have your life revolve around your sport if you do want to perform at the best. And I always say this, it's like, if you want to dedicate X amount of hours to training in a day, you have to be able to dedicate the same amount of hours to your recovery. So if you want to train 2 hours a day, you got to recover for 2 hours a day, whatever that looks like. Or so some of these top guys, they're looking at like maybe multiple sessions throughout the day. Maybe they're accumulating like 5 hours in the gym. Some of the top CrossFit athletes are in the gym like 4 to 6 hours a day. But I know that they're not doing anything other than recovering and eating in the rest of their time. So it's like their lives are conducive to that. If you've got a 9 to 5, and no one's 9 to 5 is 9 to 5, it's more like 8:30 to 6:30, 7 p.m. if you've got like a stressful job and you work it, like that's not conducive to then going to the gym and doing. You don't have 4 hours in the day to then go to the gym and then 4 hours again to recover on top of that and then prepare all your meal. It just doesn't work. So it's like whatever you're consuming from social media, you've got to take that with a pinch of salt.
And this is where I would advise, I mean, not necessarily really detailed training, but rather than thinking I'm going to tell myself what I'm doing in the gym today, genuinely imagine if you were coaching yourself, but like in third person view.
Yeah.
Because quite often, and this is outside of working out, but quite often if you have like a step back conversation with yourself about a lot of things, you know the answer.
Always.
You do.
Yeah.
And sometimes you just don't want to listen to it, or you
Yeah.
don't want to have that conversation. And
Yeah.
quite honestly, that was what happened to me 2 weeks ago, where I was like, I'm going to go into this session and I'm going to do this because that's what I was doing 6 weeks ago. And I was like, dude, your leg strength is so bad. Why are you worrying about?
It's like that's why everyone needs a coach, to have someone else rationalize it for you, because you never want to listen to your own advice.
Yeah.
I know that going to bed at midnight and sitting on TikTok for 2 hours is not good for me, but do I listen to my own advice? Very hard to change habits unless you have someone over your shoulder helping you.
Yeah, big time. And I mean, that's partly the fault of accounts like the MindSets podcast having such great content. It keeps you locked in. And most of our content now seems to be grind my gears or the game.
Oh, nice.
Thanks.
I see what you've
really
done there.
tried on that one.
Very good.
Charles is bringing the game this week.
I am.
I've been told that he's going back to the old days and he's doing a quiz.
Yeah.
More fun than that, he's making it how I made all of the quizzes I gave to him. He's making it impossible.
No, when I go back and look at the quizzes that you gave to me, they weren't actually that hard, but I'm just clearly not very good at them. My general knowledge is clearly terrible. And some of them were quite niche.
Okay.
So I've gone back to the old-fashioned quiz. And what makes it difficult, I think, is the fact that I'm not going to give you any multiple choice. So you're going to have to go and be confident and just commit to an answer.
And for the benefit of the listeners, I'm going to do a really, really big effort into answering concisely. Not spending too long thinking, maybe thinking with the first thing, maybe going with the first thing that comes into my head.
This is the point where everyone's turning off.
This is a really important part for people to have fun.
Yeah. I think, everyone make a conscious effort to play along at home.
Okay.
So we'll start easy. Very easy. England rugby player Mike Tindall married which member of the British royal family in 2011? Oh, Angus, I thought this was a shoe-in.
You've been using the word shoe-in in this episode, and I don't really know what it means.
It's not this.
It's not this. Again, this happened a few episodes ago, but I have a letter in my head that I think is in the name.
It's not E.
Z?
Nice. Good start.
Yeah. But
you have nothing other than that.
No, not really.
You should have just committed and been like, big Z.
Big Z. I actually don't know if her name starts with the Z.
Okay, it does.
It does.
Yes.
Is it like Zoe?
It's close, but no.
Zara.
Nice. Yep. Can I have a second name?
No. It's Big Zara.
Zara.
You know Big Z, Big Zara.
For conciseness.
Zara Tyndall.
Nice. Yeah.
Zara
okay.
Tyndall.
You can have half a point. Zara Phillips.
Yeah.
Okay.
Formerly known as.
Yeah. All right, number 2. On a standard dartboard, which number lies between 9 and 11?
I'm trying to picture where that is on the board, and I feel like it's on the right-hand side of the board. And a number did come straight into my mind, and I promised the listeners that's what I would do. 16.
Oh, 14. It was a good guess.
Damn.
It was a good
Is it? Do you know off the top of your head where that is on the dartboard?
No idea.
Okay.
Okay. Again, we'll go easy. Which English football club is television cook Delia Smith connected to?
Ooh. She's actually a big supporter as well.
Doesn't she own it?
Yeah, she's a part owner. Again, doing what I said. Feel like I've done the letter thing again here, but Burnley?
No. Do you want another guess? Do you want
Is it B?
No.
Oh, that doesn't sound great.
I've been giving you the easy options today as well.
Is it like Everton? Who is it?
Norwich.
Oh,
Shame.
was never going to get there.
All right. Well, I'll stay with the football ones because now
Okay.
I thought that was an easy one, but now I'm going really easy just to give you something. Build the morale again. Which word comes after Swindon, Ipswich, and Huddersfield in the names of these three?
Town.
Nice. It was easy, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was
Okay,
nice.
cool.
Thank you.
You're welcome. There was a morale boost. We're back.
I was really scared when you said that it was going to be an easy morale booster.
I had to. Okay. In 2000, it's another easy one. Who became the first British rower to win gold medals at 5 consecutive Olympic Games?
Steve Redgrave.
Oh, he's even been with the sir. Yeah, that was good. All right. Oh, shame. Okay, another easy one. There's some which are like really niche where I'm
Okay.
like, at this point, knowing how bad you were.
You're going to have to give me one of those at some point.
Yeah, I will. How many coloured rings are on the Olympic flag?
I feel like that's a trick question.
How?
5?
Yeah, easy.
It should just be rings. I thought you were
They
going to say.
are coloured.
I thought you were going to say like, oh, technically this one's not a color.
I'd never do that.
Okay,
All right. The headquarters
great.
of the International Ice Hockey Federation is in which European city?
Ooh, Vienna.
No, go again. I liked how concise that was, though.
Okay.
It was wrong, though.
Yeah, thanks.
Sometimes any decision is better than...
Amsterdam.
No.
Just thinking of cool places that would have it.
Go again. One more.
One more. Milan.
Zurich.
Oh, damn. Same language as Vienna, a little bit.
Okay. In betting,
Oh, yeah. Okay.
what odds are known as pony or macaroni?
Odds that rhyme. Pony and macaroni. Really weird. Is it where? No.
I need
don't
the
know.
odds.
Like an actual number.
It'll be something to...
Oh, okay. 11-1.
25-1.
What do you know why it's called pony and macaroni?
No idea.
Damn.
No idea. These are all good follow-up questions that
Okay.
the listeners will never get the answers to.
If you actually know the answers to these,
Yeah,
please send them in.
Yeah. All right, we're going back easy. We've got a few more. Which national team won the 2011 Rugby Union World Cup?
The All Blacks.
Easy. Very good. Okay. Which tennis player won the 2005 Wimbledon men's final?
Roger Federer.
He's on a roll. All right. Who did Fabio Capello replace as England football manager in 2008?
Steve McLaren.
Who's this guy?
Mate, I know sport.
He's on a roll.
I just,
All right.
I don't know where headquarters are.
I know sport. Here we go. Which British female swimmer won a silver medal at the 1980 Moscow Olympic Games for the 400-meter medley? I know sport. No way you get this.
English 400 meter swimmer. Uh, 1980, not 1984.
1980.
Okay.
No way does that change your answer.
Just trying to put a little
yeah.
seed in your
Because I
brain.
know 1984.
Lydia.
No.
Elizabeth.
No.
Go on.
Sharon Davis, obviously.
It's my next guess, isn't it?
That's a hard question. No one knows that.
No offense to Sharon,
I
but
had to,
no one knows that.
based off how arrogant you were getting.
I know.
All right, here we go. There's only a few more. Which famous racehorse is buried next to the finishing post of the Aintree racecourse?
Galileo?
No.
Oh, great name for a horse, though.
Yeah, it is. It's also a great name for a horse. Another famous racehorse.
Long Dong Silver. That's a great horse that I've seen.
What is wrong with you?
Nah, I don't know.
You do.
Really?
Yeah, Red Rum.
Oh, I'll be
wouldn't
honest,
have
I'm
got
not that good at
All
horse
right.
stuff.
2 more. Which English football club won the 1994 FA Cup? I know sport.
Leeds United?
No.
It's
Close.
not Manchester United.
It is.
Oh,
Yeah.
I thought that was too easy.
Yeah, got you there. All right, this one is so niche as well. I'll be impressed if you get this. Final question. I've lost count of how many you got right, but you were on a roll in the middle.
Yeah,
that wasn't impressive.
I reckon
That'll
I'm
be
probably
the
on, like,
TikToks.
Yeah, that'll be the quiz of the podcast.
Yeah,
I will
sure.
cut it there.
Which British snooker player was known by the nickname Hurricane?
Well, I mean, the answer that I end up saying is just made up. There is zero chance that I get this correct. Is he also has he in his off season decided to dabble in other sports, and he is formally known as the England captain up front, playing for Bayern Munich as well, Harry the Hurricane Kane?
It isn't, unfortunately.
Damn.
That would have been good.
Yeah,
Alex Higgins, obviously.
obviously
The Hurricane.
the one and only. I
can't wait
Alex,
to go-
sorry.
Yeah, I can't
Alex
wait
and
to go
Sharon
back.
have been mugged off in this. I'm really sorry.
See how many you got right.
Yeah, I mean, that was actually, it's way harder doing a quiz than some of the other games that we
Yeah.
got away with.
Well, some of the games are not like, you can't win or lose. Like
True.
the game we did last time for me, that was like a pity game.
That wasn't a pity game. It was a fun game. I had a good time. Guys, I'd be genuinely interested as a listener, which sort of thing you find more interesting to listen to and kind of play along with while you are listening or watching.
I'd also want to know how many of you guys got those questions.
And that you can do by telling us in the comments section. So if you're watching on YouTube, then scroll down a bit. If you're not watching on YouTube, head over, let us know how you got on. And also let us know, like I said, if you prefer quiz style things, if you prefer the other games that we've brought along. If you've got one that stands clear, definitely let us know, because we'd love to do that more.
Or your
often.
game options as well.
Yeah, if you've got good ideas or you want to make one up and we can give it a trial run like I did in the last episode, then absolutely we'll give it a go. To find us, it's MindSets Podcast on everything, or MindSets_podcast on all socials. We've mentioned ours previously. It's Angus_Cook on Instagram and Chucks_life_ on Instagram as
I'm
well.
glad you did it for me.
So again, wraps up another episode. Also, can't believe we both kind of got Wimbledon right. Incredible. We're just too good at this. So with that, we're not going to do any more predictions, and we will look forward to seeing you all in the next episode.